Okay, we're just waiting to connect. Well, hi, Gabino. Thanks so much for.
How you doing? How are you? Can you see
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
All right.
great,
How are you doing today, Diana?
great. Looking forward to our conversation. And so is Theo, who is always part of our in the studio journey.
Yes,
So I'm going to
definitely.
have some images, and I think to start, um, talk a little bit about yourself and cultural workers, which is an ongoing project that's really interesting.
Of course. Definitely do that. Well, I'm a New York-based interdisciplinary artist. I was born in Epatlán, Puebla, Mexico. I usually start everything with drawings. I create everything with drawings, and then I also make paintings, performances, and installations, and that explore the physical and psychological, emotional, and spiritual effects of migration. I graduated from I did my BFA and MFA as a painter from Hunter College. Uh, I was recently in Basel before the pandemic happened, or I was supposed to be there till July, but because of the pandemic, it was cut short. So I came back to New York City, and and well, and then cultural workers it has it's pretty much it's an art project that is that works as a platform um, to create a temporary collective made up of organized local and foreign workers to create collaborative art, culture, and design projects that are tailored to specific communities. But of course, now because of the pandemic, now I want to know. I'm trying to figure out how this project can adapt to 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 what's happening now. But I just want to say that all of my projects always start with 2D. That's how I start everything, and then afterwards I start to
Some examples.
yeah, like for example, like this one here, and then afterwards I start to I'm like, how can this drawing be physically active in an actual space, but at the same time bring a group of people to that I could collaborate with and work with um, to create this community that is more than just a temporary that pretty much that can develop into a an environment that generates apprenticeship, learning, relaxation, and contemplation. Um, yeah, that's something. That's where I've been. That's where I am with this project. And I think I also. I don't know what else would you like to know.
I mean, I think there's something really kind of radical about cultural workers as or workers, how you use labor in your practice. Do you want to talk about what you were going to be doing in Switzerland? I know it's kind of sad to talk about what happened, but I have like these images here.
Yes, I could definitely do it. Let me just give me a few minutes. I'm actually going to turn off my AC,
Oh, sure.
and I'm gonna. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Somehow, for some reason, my Bluetooth wasn't working, so I want to make sure that I hear perfectly and you hear me perfectly. All right. So what I was planning to do in Switzerland was I was planning to take cultural workers and work with refugees and Swiss citizens. It was going to be an iteration of what I've been doing here in New York City, and and
I was already on the moves to work with working with this church who in Switzerland that pretty much was helping out refugees to get jobs, learn the learn German, and I wanted to go in and also be part of it. At the same time, have a dialogue with the people that were part of this church, in order for them to work with me and collaborate with me, and be able to create the installation, but at the same time be able to bring their interests out, and create it into a workshop, you know, where pretty much they will get a stipend from it, and they had the choice to either just do the installation or also be part of the installation, create the installation, and create a workshop. But of course, because the project didn't occur because of the pandemic. But next year, I'm heading back to Switzerland. But instead of doing the installation, I'm just going to present my drawings and paintings that I've been working on here in the city. Yeah, this piece came out from one of my drawings named Learning from the Worker, the Dancer, and Gaspar Yanga. And what I like about this,
it's this one, right?
no, it's the
this one.
That one, yeah. So that I created that as a 2D, and then I got help from this artist named Zach Hackman, who helped me create the renderings. And this piece, pretty much, I am talking about this idea of trying to go on a different layer and trying to understand my own culture, my own history from where I come from, but also understand other histories and kind of like break them down and get to know the unknown. And with Gaspar Yanga, he was considered as one of the first liberators of the Americas. He was brought in to Veracruz through the transatlantic slave trade, and he was able to create a group of freedom fighters, and they were pretty much going against the Spaniards. And he was working. He was an enslaved person in a sugarcane plantation. And when I read his story, I was so amazed by it because he was like rebelling against the Spaniards, but also at the same time, when he was able to organize himself, he went to the far away from the towns, and also he was able to negotiate with the Spaniards to be treated as a citizen, or be treated as equal as the Spaniards were being treated. And he created like 13 agreements with the Spaniards, like to be able to have them. They could be to have their own ruling, have their own church, have their own land. It was pretty much like govern themselves, and one part that I really loved was the fact that he mentioned, he was like, if the land is ever attacked by another foreigner, we will fight with you, and so it was like, wow, like even though like he was being like mistreated, he still wanted to like fight with the Spaniards. It was like, wow, like you were like I want to fight for the land. I want to be treated equal. I want to be seen as a Spaniard, as a citizen from this new land. So I was really like, I was amazed when I read the Gaspar Yanga's story. So I added him to this drawing. But a lot of these drawings that I'm making are they have stories that each it has different layers. You know, it's never like one story. Like I could tell you. Also in this drawing, I was like looking at the worker and how the worker uses his labor, you know, or its body to you know, to pretty much in a way be valued, and I bring my own experience into it as well because I've washed bathrooms to being a busboy, a server to an artist teacher, and now right now I'm also trying to be quote unquote the artist, you know, and it's also another labor as well. There's different kinds of labor, but it's like I think with my own work, I'm like I want to like pretty much state that in my projects there is this fact where I'm like we are all in this utopic environment, but at the same time when we are making this work, we are like there are regulations, and that's why I created a cultural workers manual, or it's in a way like it helps me to navigate the collective, to guide the collective.
Yeah, one thing that I just reading the manual is that I can pull it up now. This structure workers, there's this idea of passing something on. A little bit of an echo going on. Sorry about that.
No, that's cool.
But also what you were saying with the story and how your pieces are layered in stories, it made me think of the Black Bean Burger project. We're going completely out of what we said. That's fine. Can you talk about that story connection with
of course. Yeah. Just want to point out something out real quick that there's like sometimes it gets kind of cut off. I'm not sure if it's my service, but I want to make sure that you are aware of that. So when I speak, does everything actually like is it hearable?
Yeah, everything's coming through. You must say on my.
Oh, okay. All right. So the Black Bean Burger Project, it all came out because my dad pretty much has this land. Well, my dad's family has this piece of land in Mexico, in Puebla, and they grow crops, you know, and they pretty much grow crops but they don't sell them. They grow them for themselves. And I went to Mexico like 2017. So yeah, 4 years ago. And I was talking to my dad. I was like, hey man, you know, like, what do you do with these crops? He was like, well, we just cook them, and we pretty much share them amongst our family. Like, do you think if I could, like, you know, take some of them to New York, or have them, or you could bring some of them to New York? He's like, yeah, for sure. He's like, and of course, you know, you cannot bring. There's certain rules when you fly, you know, internationally. You cannot bring food, packages of food, or dry goods. I was like, okay, so we have to do this illegally. So like, just the way how I came to the States illegally, across the border in 1990, in 1993 with my sister, and with my sister and my mother and my uncle, and I was like, hey, I need to do this. I need to bring these beans into my work and start making these black bean burgers as a way to use it as a tool to start having conversations that can be either a little bit sensitive or a little bit too awkward, and one of them for me was more about like talking about immigrant rights, you know, in this country, and undocumented, because, you know, I was here undocumented for almost my whole teenage until I was 27, and then I got my citizenship. Well, first I got my green card. First I got my work permit, green card, then my citizenship. That's how it worked. I was interested in bringing food into my work as a way to just kind of share thoughts with people. And what I was doing was I was like selling them for $4, but then if the viewer or the participant wanted to answer the question, they will get like 50% off as a way to, you know, as just like kind of like back and forth compensation, you know, like, oh, if you get to answer this question that is kind of uncomfortable, you'll get this percentage off, and you just have to give $2.
Yeah.
But
As an immigrant in the United States, what are your responsibilities in relationship to your fellow citizens and non-citizens for those?
right. I'm sorry. What was that?
What's so I currently is on my end. I apologize. People
No,
and one is so interesting about your work in general and how you work with these workers in the collective, but also this piece is your operating system of capitalism. You're selling these black bean burgers for $4, but I'm poking holes in this system as you're doing.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Diana. You got caught off in the last part.
So I was asking about this relationship to capitalism, but at the same time, empowering the worker in your work and working kind of within the system to be doing support of the worker.
Right. Okay. So I a lot of these pieces for me are, it is as a way to empower the people that I am collaborating with, and from one of the things that I want to state, for me, when my drawings and my paintings are as a way to express myself. And then whenever I'm working with a group of people and they help me construct the piece, I want the room to function as a house or as a club where they can explore their interests, and for me, the architecture that I'm working with is a way to, it's like, for me, it's like it's the psychological thing where just like, if the bigger space it is, I think the more the bigger you want to grow. And I say this because when I came to the States with my mom and my sister, my father was living in Spanish Harlem, and we were living like with think 2 or 3 other families in like in a 2-bedroom apartment, 2 or 3 bedroom, a 2.5 bedroom apartment. So pretty much we all had a like we were all like we had our own little cubicles of like where we had our our privacy, and like and for me, creating these spaces was a way to be like whoever I'm working with. I'm like I want them to feel like there's they could pretty much create uh, anything they can, and they have the possibility to just for that moment, temporary moment, to explore their interests. Um, and yeah, I feel like for me, I am playing with capitalism, and and at the same time, there is some kind of like social aspect to my work. But I'm not trying to invent the wheel. I'm just trying to use my tools that or use the ideologies that I kind of know and put it in and inject them into my work and into these installations. Because my experience coming to the States, I was, you know, we were undocumented. At the same time, my mother was trying to find ways to have her kids and survive and then and also be able to get a quote unquote, be part of a good institution, education, school, go to good schools. Um, so I just want to be able to offer that within my own work. Um,
Yeah, that concept of empowerment is great. And you have, for those who haven't experienced your work, you have environments, all of these different programs that go on, from classes to dinners, and while you have this alter ego, which I'll pull up, uh, so it's a little cut off. Talk about that.
yeah,
How
yes,
it works.
yeah. So I'm working on this. I'm working on this pretty much. I say I'm gonna call it my. Yeah, he's my alter ego. It's androgynous. It's androgynous. Uh, uh, yeah, it has the mustache, but I'm. It's my alter ego, and and it's called POEL, which is an acronym for Practice of Everyday Life, which I got it from the book written by Michel de Certeau, a French philosopher. He wrote the book Practice of Everyday Life, and he talks about psychogeography in this book, and talks about how people can move around space, but also be able to do uh, how to now have a map, but also uh, do shortcuts. Move around the landscape. I I see that this figure for me is like a time traveler because my drawings do function as this kind of like time traveling experience for me as a way to like whatever gets on the paper is like I get inspired from stuff that I'm reading, the stuff that I'm watching, stuff that I'm listening to, um, and yeah, it's still a work in progress because I want to create this costume and then perform for when I make my black bean burgers, or if I think of another way of using this for a performance, I'm thinking about that too. So yeah, that's where I am with this piece. This piece is still a thought that I wanted to become into an action. I wanted to become into an actual object, so I could wear it.
It's great how your work is so rooted in drawing practice becomes a whole system of thing. and like like a brand. I mean, I dug this up from a couple of years ago, one of your performances, um, and this was, you know, given. I think it was with the Black Bean Burger, collaborating with from Mezcal. But every aspect of it is connected and rooted in your drawing.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, about the what I kind of have to talk about as of Mexican muralism, and you're bringing all of these things. You know, you're creating these environments. There is a connection there with the social aspect. Can you talk more about that?
The social aspect of muralism,
or how you're um, relating to your work?
oh, how does like muralism relate to my work?
Yeah.
Oh, well, when I was in undergrad, I was so in love with the big three, you know, Diego Rivera, Siqueiros, and Orozco, you know, and I'm still in love with them. I love I love the way how they use paint, the way the materials they were using, the expression of it, the power, the imagery of the power it had to the viewer. But as I kept reading more about it, I'm like, wow, it's like I was reading more about the fact with Jose Vasconcelos, which he was like he was pretty much in charge of the whole bringing forward muralismo and bringing the three muralists, painters, Mexican painters to pretty much promote Mexican identity. And when I was reading about more of these things, I was like, whoa, well, you know, mestizaje was a big part of their of their of what they were trying to communicate. But when I read more about it, I was like, wow, this is not cool, because I was like, wow, it's like in the same time, it's like you're trying to, in a way, like whitewash this other identity that has been part of those lands for so long, but at the same time they wanted to create this harmonious environment, you know, society. And I mean, I'm saying, like, I love those painters. I love how they painted. I just don't agree with how the government was using art as a way to create or trying to create some kind of harmonious moments in Mexico. So, but for me, just after knowing that, I'm like, I still want to use muralism plays a big part of my work, because I want to create environments that are bigger than the drawing. You know, I want to create environments where when the viewer comes in, it's like, wow, this feels like a spot where I can contemplate, or where I can relax, where I can learn, and where the people that I'm working with feel like some kind of apprenticeship. And I mean, I've read a couple of I guess I'm gonna say is like kind of like Marxist books, but I'm not full into them. You know, I'm like I love some of the ideologies, but I am not fully 100% like that actually those things work, you know. And that's why I feel like with my work I play with those two ideas, capitalism and socialism, in a way. But it's just a breed. It becomes a breed for me.
Yeah. You had said something about the connection between this kind of post-colonialism at muralism and mezcal as a product.
Yeah.
Too. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Well, see, it's crazy, right? So, like, like mezcal uh, was was being produced before the Spanish, were coming in. Um, but some of the cool things I feel is that like where my father's from is I'm gonna tell a little story. Where my father's from, he's from Epatlán, Puebla, and there's another small town like maybe like a couple miles away, where if you drive, you will see just native people that live there. You'll hear their native tongue, and like and they sell abundance of mezcal. And I went there 3 years, 4 years, no, 2017, 2017. So that's 3 years ago. And I was able to get some mezcal from them, and it was as you know it was as good as the mezcal that you buy like with branding. See, but the thing about mezcal is that like if you go to a mezcalero, right, and like pretty much like let's say if I like you're the mezcalero, I wanna buy you some mezcal, and then I want to sell that to the market. I could all I have to do, like, of course I have to like do the whole process of like create my LLC, etc. But it's just weird that the fact that how the person who buys the mezcal makes more profit than one who makes it, and like I feel like uh, mezcal has been able to, in a way, kept um, this rawness of how it's produced, and 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 also how it has been distributed, but also how it has been prohibited, because for a while mezcal was not uh, was prohibited in Mexico. Um, uh, Tequila was only a few states were able to produce mezcal, um, and so because it was just a powerful spirit, um, and also one of the things I love with mezcal, it's still like you only see like the natives, like like drinking it, like you will go to a small little town, like very humble, and like you will have the man just drinking their sipping on their mezcal, um, and they're not drinking it like in fancy cocktail restaurants, like now you go to a restaurant here, you could like drink a nice $120 $200 bottle, but you could buy one in Mexico, same quality, just probably a little cheaper than that, a little more less pricey.
And can you
Uh,
brought it into your work, collaborative uh, process, but this work that we're looking at here?
yeah, so for this piece, I collaborated with uh, his name is Kelly Lopez. He's a it's, I've known him for a while, since I was probably like 21 years old. But he loves design. He has a good knowledge he has a good knowledge of mezcal making, and I'm sorry, mezcal, a good knowledge of mezcal. So he knows the mezcal is really good, and what we did was we worked together in a way to create a workshop of the history of mezcal and also the tasting of mezcal. And I partnered up with him to pretty much create a workshop where I was pretty much making my black bean burgers, and he was presenting the mezcal. So those two things together were coming in. Like these two items, the black bean, and the mezcal, were in a way coming together to create a workshop that was about information and was about also community. So that's what I was doing. This piece was mostly about that as well. Yeah.
And before we get to your drawing, we have a couple more images. This is one of your everyday life spaces, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this was my first. No, this was my first iteration of practice of everyday life. It was on 109th Street, and I rented a storefront from this family that uses it, or that was using it as a party event space. So they were like, pretty much you could go there and like you could rent it and have your like quinceañera or your birthdays, or about your baptism, and you pretty much that the space, that was a function of the space. So I was able to talk to them, and I was like, hey, can I rent the space for a month? And they're like, yeah, go for it, and like I want to like pretty much make this space into a workers club, where during the day I was offering workshops that were for family orientated, for kids, and then at night it was pretty much becoming like a wine tasting, open mics, and dinner tastings. So I was just using this space as a way to this space actually became where cultural workers, the whole concept of cultural workers, has started to appear, because what I was doing first was I started making that drawing. If you see the one inside the space,
This
that
one?
one, yeah, I started making that piece, and I took a picture of it and I just posted it on Instagram. I was on Facebook, yeah. And then some folks were like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" Like, "Oh, I'm just doing something. Just like want to come along?" And they just started to come join me. But I was like, "But I can't pay. I don't have the capital. It's just purely volunteering work." And they were like, "That's cool," and that's where, after this project, that's where I was like trying to find a way where I can actually get funding, so I could distribute the funding to the people that I was working with and compensate them for their labor, not just not just take advantage of their labor, because I feel like as an artist, and also as an artist, it's like I can't. And just as a person, just not even the artist, just as a person, I just can't. I want to be able to, whoever's helping me out or wants to construct to be also get compensated for both their labor and their time. So this piece, is pretty much singing to the to the community of Harlem. It's like a jazz band. And in the back I have these Mesoamerican iconography, as a way to which represents, I think it's like the snake, the son of the sun. So I was oh, and also I want to mention something else. The clock that's up there, it was given to me from this other artist, Arkady Rybin. He's also from. He pretty much lent me the clock as a way to show like this idea of time. That that. So, anyways, but like for me, I was trying to yeah, I was just making this piece, and then people start to show up from the door, like, "Hey, I want to help out," and then I started thinking about cultural workers. Started to think about how to bring a temporary collective, to create these spaces where people can learn, and where people could also feel like they can grow, for that moment.
Yeah, I think so great about that. of your work. So we're going to go back in time, works that you shared with us, and it's going back to the drawing practice, which is really at the root of everything you're doing. Can you tell us about these?
Yeah. So for this one, it was called "I Saw My Reflection in My Mother's Final Tears." So for this piece, I created these murals in a real estate office. I was invited to create 3 murals and then activate the space with programming. And the funny thing about this piece was the fact that it also, in a way, directed me to start putting this other layer of programming into my work. But yeah, this piece, I was thinking about the pain that I was going through when I lost my mother, and I was, but at the same time I was also looking at political events that were happening in Mexico and in the U.S. So I would say my work is political. It has some political aspect to my work, you know. But I am also looking at it in a very international lens, where I do bring my feelings forward and my experiences, and then somehow what I'm reading or looking at, and it comes and shows up in my drawings. So this one, I felt like I was like, the hand was so it's my hand. I took a picture of my hand. So I should tell you a little about my process. The way I work is I use projection. I use a camera. So and I also and I use geometry as a way to make my drawings. But for these ones, all I was using was projection and photographs, and then so that's how I work. I work like this, kind of like collage in a collage way.
Yeah, and some of your work, I'm going to keep talking about this, some of your work, found images, we can talk more about.
The found images?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one in the image in the middle, there is this beautiful photograph that I had to ask the person who took the photograph. Her name is Jasmine Garch. She works for the NPR, and she went to Oaxaca for this will happen in 2015. She went to Oaxaca, and she was like she took images of female zapatistas, and I was like, hey, I need to borrow that image. Can I use it? You know? And she's like, yeah, go for it. So I was like, but during that time, a lot of conflict was there was some conflict happening with Mexico and Zapatismo and Mexican government, and then also in the image on the left, like if you go back to the other one, the image, what's that?
It might have been Instagram cuts off.
Yeah. So there's like like someone carrying someone on the bottom, on the left hand corner. That was I took a photograph of during the it was during the Iraq War. So I didn't took it. I found the image, and I was like, I want to take it as a way to, instead of having the body, is having the person carrying the bricks as a way of like you know, like I know this agony of like carrying all this pain, or carrying this all of what's happening with humanity, what's how we deal with each other, how you know how we you know I don't know. It just felt made me feel like after I lost my mom, I was like, wow, why are we like killing each other like this? You know, so this piece in a way represents this, you know, represents the agony that I was feeling, but also the agony that the world was feeling, or that the world is still feeling, and it's still happening now, you know. And my work deals with a lot of that as well. Yeah.
So we don't have that much more time, but hold on, sorry. I'll pull up some more recent drawings that are in the process. I
Oh yeah.
don't want you can start to think of. Oh, and we have
Yeah.
someone asking if you've taught murals public works.
Oh, I mean, I was. You want me to answer the question?
Yeah, I'll go back to a mural while you talk about that, and then we'll get back to drawings. So thank you for the question.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was working for Creative Artworks, and I mean, I haven't done any public murals, you know, uh, from my own practice. I've done murals for institutions that hire me to work with students, and then create a mural with the workshops that I was making with them. So, but yeah, I would love to definitely like make some public NYC murals. Of course, you know,
Yeah,
get compensated for it. Of course. Yeah, definitely, yes.
and especially these days, art is kind of on the map for our museums. Okay, so back to drawing, the root of everything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so tell us about what you now. You mentioned this is in a way kind of dictated by the pandemic side on a smaller scale.
Yeah. So these are all works in progress. I'm sharing some works in progress live, so people can see that I know this is how I start everything. But this is our I've been looking at Indians, which are fabrics that um, put it up. You guys can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been they're pretty much like they're printed and painted cotton fabrics that came from India to Europe in the 16th century, and then of course they were soon imitated by the French and Swiss companies. So this were again we go back to colonialism. So even though like I was reading about because I was in Switzerland and I was reading about I want to know like more about Switzerland like the how they got their power and all that on all that good stuff. But I realized that you know Switzerland of course was a big part of the transatlantic slave trade. You know they were funding the ships, they were funding the land, and that's how they were able to make their capital, but also that's how they were able to get a lot of these imitated Indians in Europe, because what was happening was when when the U.S. you know was making was producing a lot of cotton, they did not no longer needed India to produce their cotton and to make these fabrics. So what they did was like, you know, I'm gonna get the cotton from America, take it to Europe, make our own, our own fabric, make our own prints, and paint them, you know, and like and so again, appropriation, right? You know, it's like it's crazy, right? It's crazy how the world like you know, how I guess Western civilization and has taken I guess has always been the one winning, you know, because of either violence or because of just trying to I guess you know, even though they are participating, they're not. How can I say this? Like there are some countries were violent, and some countries were violent, but they were in a different way where
Yeah, they're
they were
benefiting.
not. Was that?
They were still benefiting.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so these were right now when I'm working on this piece, I was looking at these fabrics, and I was just inspired by the color, and I'm like, you know what, let me bring them into the work and start making some small little drawings. But I'm still not finished. Still working on them.
I can scroll through some of the
Of course, you can.
progress talk about.
Yes, you.
This one obviously is looking again at the American image, right?
Yes, definitely. It's from the Aztec calendar, the 23 day signs, 21 day signs, and so I'm just working on this gold leaf watercolor right now. But it's still work in progress as well. But I'm just like I take all these information, and somehow these drawings then appear in my in my other drawings, and in my more complex drawings, they become part of them. So right, these are usually like experimentation, you know, trying to like, you know, just have fun.
Yeah.
It's always good to have fun in the studio. And this one I was I'm making an artist book I went to Colmar, France, and I was looking at the timber houses, and I was just looking at I was interested about what the houses the symbols that they were using in the timber houses meant, and you know, pretty much I was just trying to like create instead of like I was just interested in the texture of it, interested in how I can use how can I use them in how can I use the architecture into my more complex drawings, and hopefully soon they will be part of them.
And then this is, I think, the last one this is the last one that I have, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead.
These are just like small little drawings of like looking at this, you know, looking at New York City, like, because I bike a lot, so that's my means of transportation, biking. And and when I'm looking at the streets, I use like pretty much street signs, trying to like, but also like also for me kind of function like as a way of border, or this like, you know, in between spaces.
Yeah, it's great to see all kind of as individual exercises that come more complex. Another kind of more complicated.
Yes. Yeah, this is where it's like starting to get starts to have another layer. But yeah, this one's like if you see the one on the bottom, that came from I took a photograph of the piece, the piece in the bottom that is like kind of like the perspective. I took a photograph of it and then just put it on Photoshop, and then I just place it on you know, to perspective, and then printed it out. I just cut it out, and I glue it into the piece of paper. And then I also want to say that I am also looking at 19th century landscape paintings, especially from the Hudson River painters, because I want to also like imagine how how the city will look if how the city will look if the if the environment still kind of way existed, like this kind of like past and future and present moment.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear all of your work. I'll invite more questions from our audience. We only have a couple of minutes. Can you tell us more about who your references are, or maybe what other artists you're reading, or what other research you've been working on?
Yeah, of course. I've been also been looking at show you have some stuff here I can share. I actually got this is one other thing that I also want to state, that there's so many stories, there's so many sides of each story, and I'm this artist gave me this book, and his name is Christian, and he gave me this book called The Five Letters of Cortez to the Emperor, and he pretty much discusses like all these like I guess their experience going into their into the land, into the new land. So I've been kind of reading that as well. And then for texture, I've been looking at these books.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's they fall.
Oh, sorry. Oh, let me show you some of the stuff that I've been looking at.
Okay. And we have 2 more minutes, so we can look at these references, and then
Sure.
have to say.
Definitely. I've just been looking at this kind of stuff.
Oh wow, yeah, the references to architecture. Instagram's giving me a countdown time. I thought there are so many pieces in your work that there's so many more talked about, but again, for series, this is actually my last working with America.
I know.
We're able to participate with. I guess
Thank you.
Over, and next week we'll be back here with Nelthus Ramirez. So I hope you all follow Gabino's Instagram, and yeah, you all again.
Thank you, Diana. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.